Hi, this is Dodger, and you are watching my show.
Three, two, one, ready, go.
Wow, Dodger, this is weird. Why are we sitting? Last week, we had a beautiful camera with a beautiful lens, and now we're sitting like it's the olden times. It turns out I'm sick right now, and it just feels a lot nicer to be sitting. I started filming this standing up, and I was like, I'm exhausted. So, bear with me. This might be a shorter news than normal, because I would love to be in bed right now. Let's see what we got here. What we got on the old internets? Oh, did you guys see that there's an official World of Warcraft cookbook? No? Well, let me tell you all about it. It's this. It's the same person who made the Game of Thrones official cookbook, which, yes, that also exists. It's all really cute. Like, one of them is lilac claws, but it's just like a cinnamon roll that you make look like lilac claws. And then they've got cherry grog, which looks fantastic. Dragon breath chili, oh heck yes. Sweet potato bread, always. Anyway, so yeah, this cookbook is gonna be coming out in October if you are interested in it. I, for one, am always a fan of themed cookbooks. I haven't looked at the Game of Thrones one though. I'm wondering how that one is. If any of you have used the Game of Thrones one, please let us know how it is. Like, okay, look. Pretty much everything that they cook in Food Wars, I'm like, I want to make that in my for reals life. So why can't it also extend to games or books? You know. We also found out about the new starter Pokemon for Pokemon Sun and Moon, and poor sweet Poplio. My goodness. Okay, so basically there's like a tiny baby owl who's adorable, and then there's Litten, who is just a fire cat, and everybody loves cats, and then there's poor Poplio, who's a sea lion. He's like a sea lion clown. And everybody's like, what is this? And I feel so bad for him because, like, he looks like a sweetie pie. He doesn't deserve all the hate, but he is by far the starter Pokemon that people are not cool with. So now I feel like, even though at first when I looked at all of them, I was like, oh my god, Litten, I need it. I'm starting to feel like Poplio deserves a forever home. You know, it's kind of like when you're walking around in a cat shelter and you're like, oh, here are the cats that everybody wants. And then here are the cats that are missing legs and eyeballs that people don't necessarily always look at. And I look at Poplio like he's a kitty who's missing a leg and an eyeball. And I'm like, I should give you a forever home and then make you fight other forever home cats. Anyways, yeah, so they put out a trailer. The Japanese trailer is hilarious because it's like a tender, wonderful story about, because it takes place in Hawaii. I don't know if I said that. The game takes place in Hawaii. So it was their trailer, their commercial for Pokemon Sun and Moon was like a little Japanese kid who's moving to Hawaii and is like learning English and wants to make friends, and it turns out that the way that he can connect with people is through Pokemon. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was so cute. It's like a story of like cross-cultural communication through games, and like, oh, it was so precious. I loved it. And then one went up that was like the America one, and it was just all stock footage. Pokemon Sun and Moon coming out soon-ish. Like I was, it was like, I wish that we got an adorable story like that, but we did not. But really, I mean, for me, Litten is still number one in my heart because I got to wake up and immediately make a terrible Twitter post about how lit Litten is. And number two, he attacks with hairballs. He spits fireballs, but they're hairballs. Excellent. Assassin's Creed movie trailer came out. And actually people are responding really well to it, which I'm shocked about. Because like for the most part, everybody is so over Assassin's Creed that I think when the trailer was going to be coming out, I was actually sort of worried to read comment sections on it because I was like, man, this is just going to be people who are mindlessly pooping on this, right? Actually, for the most part, there's been good conversation. They've been like, you know, poor choice of song, as in all Assassin's Creed game trailers, so I don't know what we were expecting, but overall, movie looks interesting. They've definitely taken some liberties with things. Which I think they kind of had to. Like, the Animus looks totally different. The Animus looks, I mean, I guess watching a dude just, like, lay down on a table for a while wouldn't have been very interesting. So, like, cinematically speaking, they decided to change it. There's, like, a big robot arm that, like, carries you up and you do stuff. I don't know. But overall, like, the aesthetic of it, very cool. And in the trailer, they're like, welcome to the Spanish Inquisition. And everyone in the world was like, wow, I didn't expect that. So that'll be coming out in December. We'll probably get at least one more trailer before the actual movie comes out. But it looks, honestly, it looks pretty cool. And I do like Michael Fassbender. So can Michael Fassbender save the Assassin's Creed movie? Maybe. Disney Infinity was canceled very out of the blue. It almost seemed like no one really saw it coming, which is interesting. Oh my gosh, my throat. Okay. So, Disney Infinity was totally shut down, I think, on Tuesday. A lot of people did not see it coming whatsoever. The reasons that are being cited from most people who have kept a close eye on Disney Infinity have been inventory was like a huge problem, because when the game first came out, they sold way more than they had made, right? So supply did not meet demand. And so when they were putting out this new Marvel stuff, they did double the supply that they expected, and unfortunately only sold what they expected, right? So they had blown a lot of money creating figures that nobody was buying. I guess there was also some concern because all of their Star Wars properties are owned by EA, right? So they were like, oh my gosh, well, we're like conflicting with EA, that we have like multiple licenses and multiple companies that are running our games that are possibly conflicting with each other, which didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that's fine. And also just the fact that it's what Disney Infinity is, right? Like, Disney Infinity is a game where they decided we're going to take all of these different licenses and properties and we're going to try to put them all together, which meant that they had to work with a lot of different people and please a lot of different people. So when they decided that they wanted to do Guardians of the Galaxy, it came with the stipulation of, sure, but you have to do a figurine of all of these characters. And they said, oh, okay, that's fine. But inevitably, the popular characters sold and the unpopular characters did not sell. Somebody is honking because they are a big Guardians of the Galaxy fan. But yeah, it seems like overall they were... This game made it so that Disney could continue to have a section that made games, right? It was the first thing in forever, games-wise, that had made any money and allowed them to keep their game creation aspect of their company open and in business. I think the second that it was not making any money anymore, they decided to shut it down, even though they had a lot of plans for the future. They were planning on doing a whole Rogue One push. They had like extra large figurines that they were planning on making and all kinds of stuff. So it seemed like the team that was doing Disney Infinity was being told, like, no, just keep doing your thing. And then in the end, they weren't able to keep doing their thing because they got shut down. And honestly, it sucks that this happened. I know people who really like Disney Infinity, and I honestly felt like Disney Infinity was going in a cool direction because they had made, like, the Marvel Battleground stuff, which, side note, I was paid to play Marvel Battlegrounds in a thingy a while back. But it was legitimately, like, more fun than normal Disney Infinity was, right? So I was like, oh, maybe they're going in a cool direction with this where more people would want to get involved in the game. That's apparently not how they saw it, or it wasn't happening fast enough, right? So the synergy just wasn't there, communications weren't there, and they decided to shut it all down, which is too bad. Finally, one other thing that got shut down is Project Spark. Microsoft decided to shut down Project Spark. I don't think that that'll surprise very many people. I haven't heard hide nor hair of Project Spark in a very long time, but I think it had really cool capabilities that were hard to wrap your mind around. Because, like, I played with Project Spark for a while, and I think a lot of people who use Xbox One at least tried it, right? But the curve of understanding it wasn't quite there, and it seemed like it was almost like it was trying to compete with Little Big Planet, right? Because Little Big Planet has such a strong community of people who love making levels. And now Mario Maker has become that for Nintendo. And so for Microsoft, like, Project Spark was their version of that. And obviously it came out way before Mario Maker did, but it just never really took off. They are allowing people to download and save levels. So as long as you have them saved locally, you should be fine and you can continue to play them. But in terms of being able to upload levels and play levels that you don't have saved, you will not be able to do that in the future. When does that start, actually? They will be unavailable after August 12th of this year, so you have a little bit of time. That services players will no longer be able to download user-generated content or upload their own creations. If you want to access user-generated content offline, download this content prior to August 12th. Be sure to download your favorite community creations and your own uploads if they are not saved locally. I also think that people who were involved in, like, the Project Spark community sort of saw this coming, because a few months ago, actually maybe like 7 or 8 months ago, Microsoft had said that they weren't going to be making DLC for the game anymore. And I think that that's normally a pretty big sign that you won't have, there's going to be a lack of support, right? Because if you plan on supporting a game, like, down the line, if you're like, okay, well, we won't put out DLC for a while, you just wouldn't say anything. So the fact that they definitively were like, we're not doing DLC for this game anymore, I think was seen as death chimes, right? So it's not a huge surprise, and anybody who did buy the retail version of the game will get a credit on their Microsoft account, so you'll get something back from it. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting when a game seems to have everything that you need, but it just doesn't take off. And I think with Project Spark, the problem had to do with, number one, every time they would showcase the game, they would show it on a touchpad, which looked really cool, right? Because they could be like, oh, here's, like, I'm like putting all of this stuff on there with my fingers, and it just looked very magical. And when you would play it with a controller, it was not nearly as intuitive that way. Also the fact that, like, Mario Maker and Little Big Planet are, like, mostly 2D worlds, right? Whereas Project Spark was trying to be, like, a big, interesting 3D world. And that's a bit more difficult, right? That's much more difficult to really wrangle. So I always find it sad when games that are dependent on a strong community have to shut down because the community is not strong. So this is sad to me, but I hope that they'll try again. I hope that they'll try something like this again, because when you can get people really excited and invested, it can be so special, right? Anywho, my throat is killing me, so I'm gonna go. But if you have a positive or a negative response, feel free to leave it in my comment section. And if you would like to watch any of my streams, you can find them at twitch.tv/dexterity-bonus. I do a show called Saturday Morning Duger every Saturday morning, where I just, like, sit around and chat and do Q&A and sometimes open packages, whatever. And otherwise, throughout the week, I play games on there and do podcasts, and it's very fun. I would love to see you there. Otherwise, I'll see you guys again, same time, same place, same Bat Network, same Bat channel. All right? So long, everybody. Be safe. Feel better. Mwah. I'm saying that kind of to myself, but also to anybody else who is sick. Okay, bye. Okay.